DeCastro puts up cameras after self-doxing studio. A paranoid delete Los Jose Chile DeCastro took to the streets of Los Angeles on Saturday afternoon to investigate the police presence outside a house within blocks of the city's downtown. DeCastro approached a police officer who said it was an investigation of an alarm that had been triggered. There were 6 observed police officers on the scene along with multiple police cars. DeCastro claimed a helicopter flying overhead belonged to the police, but that could not be verified. While the police stood around the scene, DeCastro began to explain how to do a First Amendment audit and invoked his Fifth Amendment right to remain silent after an officer tried to make small talk with him. That seemed to set off DeCastro, who announced that he recently put up 6 cameras at his new studio, both inside and outside, as he needed to record the faces of everyone who came near his rented property. DeCastro's paranoia stems from his own self-doxing of the studio last week, as he released a video confirming that he rented a specific studio in downtown Los Angeles. The space corresponded to a video DeCastro released to his followers back in August, which was quickly leaked to various forums. Viewers of the video were quick to find the location's address in Google Maps, and it was apparently confirmed by DeCastro in the video earlier in the week, as the Google Maps and DeCastro's video matched. After the police wrapped up and declared the situation a false alarm, DeCastro engaged in his chat, noting that he didn't have his glasses so he couldn't read what was typed. The YouTuber went into a long rant about filing a new lawsuit against the Las Vegas Metro Police Department and how he wanted $1 million for every month he was falsely incarcerated before having his conviction overturned earlier in the year. He attacked Justice of the Peace in Zimmerman, while noting that he had forgiven her. She was still a piece of shit who he planned to sue into oblivion. DeCastro brought back his previous promise to his fans, which was to motivate his GoFundMe seeking funds to sue Zimmerman, as he stated once he won his 7-figure settlement against the state of Nevada, he'd throw a party for his fans in Las Vegas. Promising that he would hand out hotel rooms for everyone, he attempted to hype his fans with the promise before ending the live stream. DeCastro later posted on Twitter that he was trying to leave YouTube as soon as possible. Posting, "Help me leave YouTube. I can't stand this censorship. I'm posting everything I've got on X, at HodgeTwins help me. I can't stand it anymore. I have to get off censorship tube. And follow me on X, I have to get off censorship tube. My vids will have the shitty YouTube logo them until I get them all from the hard drive. Bear with me, I'm leaving YouTube. I need your support here on X. Thank you." The YouTuber may be commenting on his recent struggles to rebrand on YouTube, as his new First Amendment Auditor channel has failed to attract his 624,000 subscribers from his main channel. First Amendment Auditor had 371 subscribers as of press time. DeCastro's Saturday night live stream drew $27 in super chats.
Katie Kidman joins DOA at Scientology protests. Katie Kidman went live from Scientology-related events 3 times on Saturday, with a confrontation between Sheep Show Audits and Defender of Ant highlighting her coverage for the day. The confrontation happened during Kidman's 3rd live stream of the day in the general area in Los Angeles, where the Scientology Celebrity Center is located. Her stream started with Defender of Ant, DOA, screaming at her camera that her friend was talking about inappropriate relations with a minor in a side chat of someone's live stream. DOA, dressed similar to WWE legend Jerry the King Lawler, with a red king's robe adorning his body, seemed to target Kidman as she asked friend Sheep Show Audits what was going on. As police were on the scene, they talked with an apparent minor who was at the scene with DOA. A rough story came out that the minor had a restraining order against someone who was in a live stream side chat talking inappropriately about him. DOA became more and more unhinged as police refused to do anything and left the scene for a few minutes. Police again were on scene as DOA returned, this time screaming at Sheep Show Audits and accusing him of supporting whatever was happening in the side chat. Kidman eventually ended her 3rd stream without incident. It was a long day for Kidman, who started her day back at the Scientology Center on L. Ron Hubbard Way in Los Angeles. DOA had already been on the scene and police made him move his van from a side street that had been blocked off for a celebration of Guatemala. Kidman walked through the area multiple times, meeting other anti-Scientology activists and briefly engaging with security without incident. Unlike her previous stream from the building, she stuck to the sidewalk and public road and was careful not to attract too much attention to herself. DOA returned a few minutes later with a female companion, and the pair proceeded to start screaming anti-Scientology rhetoric towards the block party. Kidman followed DOA's rampage through the area, and DOA successfully shut down the event before returning to his van. Once he was off scene, the event started again, with dancers and singers entertaining a small crowd that was gathered for refreshments. Kidman tracked DOA to his van, where she attempted to make peace with the activist after he had accused her of supporting his enemies. Inquiring about the signs on his van, Kidman did everything she could to smooth over the apparent animosity DOA felt towards her before ending the live stream. The YouTuber's second live stream of the night, from the Scientology Celebrity Center itself, was uneventful. Kidman stood around watching cars come and go from the center without incident. No arrests were made during the 3 live streams, though DOA received 2 tickets for parking in an area designated for first responders. Ron Durbin details case against Bar Association. YouTuber and attorney Ron Durbin of Guerrilla Publishing went live on Friday to explain his upcoming hearing involving the Bar Association of Oklahoma. Durbin's law license was suspended by the Oklahoma Bar Association last year, citing numerous violations of its rules that resulted in his suspension. They ruled in the suspension announcement. The complainant alleges it has conducted an extensive review of respondents' court filings, pleadings, and statements made in open court. These include matters wherein the respondent is representing himself and wherein he is acting as an attorney for third parties. Complainant submits respondent continues to assert reckless, malicious, and dishonest statements in his Facebook Live broadcast sessions that are posted online and publicly accessible. According to the OBA grievances, during these broadcasts, the respondent disparages judges, the judiciary, opposing counsel, the OBA, and anyone with opposing views. Complainant further submits that respondent made disparaging remarks and was disrespectful to police officers, state and county officials, and city employees. He regularly disrupts the peace when he attempts to retrieve public records pursuant to the Open Records Act. He also threatens state employees that they will be arrested if they do not immediately comply with his open records requests, and has even caused an office to be on lockdown because he caused such a scene that the police had to be called. Respondent's conduct has been repeatedly reported on by the media, including his profanity-laced disparaging remarks about judges, the judiciary, and opposing counsel. Respondent's false and incendiary attacks on the legal system and judiciary are continuing as evidenced by complainant's amended complaint filed on March 6, 2024, wherein complainant brought new charges against respondent for similar and inappropriate behavior in violation of the Oklahoma Rules of Professional Conduct. The YouTuber spent some time outlining his extensive 180-plus page filing against the Oklahoma Bar Association and promised that he would be seeking a multi-million-dollar settlement as his First Amendment rights were violated by their actions. Durbin also reaffirmed his goal to force the Oklahoma Bar Association to disband, but first it would be forced to reinstate him, so he could then resign before it disbanded. From there, Durbin assured everyone would be free to practice law in Oklahoma without interference. The YouTuber's next hearing with the Oklahoma Bar Association is set for Monday. The Arkansas Police Activity YouTube channel released dashcam footage from the arrest of anti-government activist and YouTuber James Freeman, Springer in Arkansas on October 17, 2024. According to Freeman's account, Arkansas state troopers were doing a narcotics sweep and pulling over every out-of-state car they encountered, and he was simply caught up in the sweep. In the footage, the arresting trooper was seen observing Freeman's vehicle as it drove fairly close to another vehicle. Freeman slammed on his brakes at one point before signaling quickly before he made a sharp turn to exit the highway. Instead of stopping on the shoulder of the road when the officer attempted to pull him over, Freeman continued down the exit and turned onto a local street, ultimately parking at a gas station. Freeman repeatedly fumbled around for his license and registration, while calling friend Sean Buckner with details of his pending arrest. While Freeman was originally cited for following too closely and had been driving with a suspended license at the time of arrest, he was arrested for obstruction. The YouTuber refused to get out of the car after multiple orders from State Trooper Eric Haig, but began to comply with the trooper's orders when the trooper was preparing to break his driver's side window. Due to his lanky size, Freeman had trouble sitting in the back of the trooper's patrol vehicle and had to sit sideways while he was taken to jail. Freeman decided to stay in town for his first appearance in front of the judge the following week. He released an angry statement, as that non-mandatory court appearance was delayed until December.
BC watchdog gets cited for disorderly conduct. Jose Chili de Castro went live for an emergency broadcast Sunday afternoon upon receiving news that YouTuber BC Watchdog was arrested in Fort Worth, Texas, and summoned his fans to fundraise and mobilize in what turned out to be a false alarm. BC Watchdog earned fame as attorney Michael Aline's sidekick during the 4 months that de Castro was incarcerated earlier in the year. Aline was one of the people who filled in for de Castro, performing live streams that outpaced de Castro's own live streams in total viewership on de Castro's channel. Known as a heavy-set man who often drove for Uber while on live streams, BC Watchdog was performing his duties as a driver during the incident that saw him briefly detained by Fort Worth police Sunday afternoon. According to BC Watchdog's account, he had a pickup for Uber in the gated village of Stonegate community. When he approached the gates of the community, security asked him to show identification in order to enter the community. BC Watchdog refused, and an argument ensued. BC Watchdog claimed that he told the security guard that he needed to go back to Africa and relearn the Constitution in the altercation. According to BC Watchdog's account, he identified the man as a non-United States citizen working in the U.S., and it was okay to use the phrasing as the man was legitimately from Africa. Infuriated, the man refused to let BC Watchdog into the community to turn around and leave. Instead, he asked BC to back his car up and do a 3-point turn. BC refused, and the security guard called the police. BC claimed that he pulled over to the side of the road as he wanted to talk to police officers when they arrived. When an officer arrived, BC admitted to using the "Go Back to Africa" language and also argued that he could not be trespassed, as according to BC's interpretation of the law, someone is only trespassing when they go past a posted "No Trespassing" sign. The YouTuber was taken into custody and given a notice of trespass from the property and was cited for disorderly conduct. He was not taken to jail and was jubilant as he managed to injure the back of his right hand while in handcuffs, and pledged to hire an attorney to sue based on severe damage to his hand. News of BC Watchdog's arrest prompted de Castro to go live on YouTube and claim to have raised nearly $200 for BC Watchdog before BC Watchdog resumed live streaming after being released from police. De Castro was ineffective in complaining to the security company that employed the guard and in making a complaint about the officers on scene to the Fort Worth Police Department. He encouraged his fans to contact both and gave out contact information as he continued with his Sunday night live stream. Jose de Castro ignores dog Charlie illness to live stream. Fans of Jose Chili de Castro had a few surprises waiting for them on his Sunday afternoon live stream as, after dealing with news about fellow YouTuber BC Watchdog, de Castro announced that his dog Charlie was gravely ill and that he intended to leave YouTube. With the news of BC Watchdog's encounter with Fort Worth police amping up his nerves, de Castro also claimed that YouTuber James Freeman was arrested on Sunday. De Castro pulled up body cam footage of Freeman's arrest and critiqued both Freeman's actions during the arrest and the lies told by the police officer during the arrest. De Castro did not note that the arrest was from October 17, 2024, which we've previously covered, and that police don't immediately release body cam footage from same-day arrests. The YouTuber slammed Freeman for not using an indestructible trifold during the traffic stop that led to the arrest, and for not having his license, registration and proof of insurance on hand to give to the officer in line with de Castro's teachings about traffic stops. His attention now turned to a case in Jacksonville, Florida, where a local police officer was accused of improper contact with a minor after performing an investigation into a police report the minor had filed. DeCastro called the Jacksonville police dispatcher and demanded to talk to someone in charge. After several attempts at getting through to dispatch, including a hang-up of his own as a police representative from the BZ Watchdog case called him back, DeCastro again gave out the information for his supporters to contact the Jacksonville Police Department and ranted for a time about the officer's actions to the dispatcher who couldn't help him further. Switch again, DeCastro announced that his time on YouTube may be limited as he was probably going to stop posting on his Patreon page since his TeamDLZ.com service has effectively replaced it. He then pledged that he would be reposting his uncensored videos from TeamDLZ.com to Twitter a week after they aired on his paid service. He complained about YouTube and how YouTube was effectively killing his channels, with a little under 300 people watching him across 6 broadcast streams. He rallied against YouTube's revised guidelines, which have seen a crackdown on violence across the service. DeCastro warned that he would more than likely be leaving YouTube in the near future, since it had shadow banned him to the point that it didn't make sense to continue. Though he urged his fans to move over to his rebrand on his new First Amendment Auditor channel. That channel stands at 387 subscribers out of DeCastro's 323,000 subscribers for his main channel as of press time. Again, switching focus, DeCastro announced that he thought that the owners of the Peanut the Squirrel in New York City were disingenuous in their rallying cries after the squirrel was euthanized by local authorities last week. He claimed that Peanut's owners were simply trying to make a cash grab and could not support the cause. Finally, hours after announcing that his own dog Charlie was gravely ill, DeCastro said he needed to end the broadcast as he needed to go refill Charlie's medication for issues with his spleen. Charlie had been previously ill over the summer with spleen issues. We will update the condition of the animal as DeCastro releases updates.
The angry vet questions need for attorney's shield, trifold. YouTuber and convicted felon, the angry vet live-streamed Sunday afternoon with an unprecedented attack on Jose Chili DeCastro's indestructible trifold, questioning the value of the item in real-world conditions. The YouTuber took issue with the idea of a trifold as a magic get-out-of-ticket-free card, calling it a binky and making it clear that nothing would help if a police officer on scene or judge in court had their minds made up. He shot down the idea of the trifold having any meaning to anyone, as all a police officer on scene would want to see is license, registration, and proof of insurance. Citing trial cases and ideas of what the Constitution says from a law scholar doesn't help when the best thing to do, according to the angry vet, was to keep quiet and comply and hope the damage doesn't make you end up in jail. The angry vet also attacked the idea of the Attorney Shield app, claiming that he watched a YouTube video of someone trying to use the app who was paired with a lawyer in another state who couldn't possibly represent them at trial. He also warned that the person on that video implicated himself in a crime as he was talking to the out-of-state lawyer in front of the police officer, reminding his viewers that anything stated in the presence of a police officer can and will be used against them later. The angry vet went on to attack moderators for Jose Chill DeCastro, Let's ODVO, and Brick Jones, who were trolling his side chat. The YouTuber made it a running gag to time out Let's ODVO for various periods and see if Let's ODVO would be a glutton for punishment enough to return in order to be timed out again. Turning to DeCastro's stated goal of overturning the Terry versus Ohio Supreme Court decision, the angry vet asked what DeCastro and his followers were doing to overturn the decision. He correctly pointed out that spamming in a side chat didn't further the crusade, and that only actual lawsuits and challenges to the law would do anything. His supposed non-profit organization came up, and the angry vet addressed the criticism he's received as he can't prove that he runs a federally recognized non-profit organization. He claimed that the solution would be provided soon, and that everyone would know that his organization was legitimate. He also bemoaned the problem with crowdsourcing, as he said he failed in his GoFundMe efforts. Looking at the market, he indeed failed for Saturday, as only Craig Hendry's campaign received a donation, and Sunday, as it was goose eggs across the board for all campaigns. We still need your help. Despite the GoFundMe market being dead, this publication is funded by your donations along with what little we make from our YouTube channel per month. While we did achieve full monetization on YouTube, we still need help to get through monthly expenses and keeping the lights on to bring you the paper and the newscast each day. If you can afford it, please consider donating to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All donations literally go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing news stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the advertisements on our videos, like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in. Kate Peter launches Masshole Mafia 2.0. Activist and YouTuber Kate Peter announced on her Sunday live stream that she had launched a new version of her Masshole Mafia-related Discord server after the old version mysteriously disappeared off of Discord last week. In a stream plagued by audio issues due to Peter's last-minute decision to switch from the StreamYard broadcasting software to the product put out by Streamlabs, Peter addressed the relaunch of her server along with news on Aiden Turtleboy Kearney's recent on-air meltdowns over the Karen Reed podcast he is contractually involved in. Peter denied knowledge of the reasoning behind the disappearance of her original Discord server last week and said she was as much in the dark as anyone else as to why it went down. She did not specify if it was a Discord issue or if the person running the server for her simply grew tired of it and took the server down. The theory that Pat, the owner of her original server, would take the server down was put into question as he was on her new server, actively participating and offering help in the rebuilding process. Peter's original Masshole Troll Mafia server was seen as the home of the anti-auditing movement for most of 2022, with the boom associated with the rise in hate watching Jose Chili de Castro's over-the-top antics. The server and the mafia of supporters were named in both de Castro's dismissed federal civil rights lawsuit against Peter and his later California-based civil suit that is currently being litigated. While multiple splits within the community and Peter's increased focus on the Karen Reed murder trial saw the server fall out of favor with a lot of her supporters, it remained the default spiritual home to the so-called anti-auditing movement. As of press time, the Masshole Mafia 2.0 server has a handful of topics and is still rolling out a membership drive to inform her previous members of the new server. The Really Cool News daily newspaper and Auditing Insanity audio newscast both got their start on the Masshole server. Really Cool News' own server, Really Cool News Wire, has also provided at least a temporary home for a number of Masshole refugees in the absence of Peter's original server. We will continue to provide updates as Peter's server rebuilds. Deborah Rogers challenges Cherokee Nation again. YouTuber and associate of Jose Chili de Castro, Deborah Rogers spoke at a recent council meeting of the United Kituwa Band and challenged the legal powers of the Cherokee Nation as a whole. Rogers, who previously challenged the Cherokee Nation's very existence in her 2023 drunk driving case that was decided under Cherokee Nation jurisdiction, was again challenging the jurisdiction of the nation in another DUI case. This time her concerns came with a UKB tribal light horse police officer arresting a non-Cherokee on Cherokee Nation land and the handling of the case under Cherokee Nation law. Rogers claimed that the case should have either been dropped or turned over to the United States to try as it involved a non-Native American. Rogers was one of Jose Chili de Castro's first people that he campaigned for in 2022 and 2023. She had been arrested for drunk driving in 2022 on Cherokee Nation land and resisted officers when they attempted to detain her, leading to a physical altercation in which she was tased and body slammed. De Castro would challenge the body cam footage presented by officers during the trial, convincing Rogers that frames of the video were missing and others were inserted by police. At one point taking the claim so far as to attempt to fundraise for a forensic video expert to testify on Rogers' behalf that the footage was doctored. Rogers herself refused to comply in pre-trial proceedings and wound up in jail for contempt of court for 60 days. During that time, De Castro led a fundraising campaign claiming that Rogers was being thirsted by prison guards as the only source of water in her cell came from a sink on the back of the toilet. De Castro and Rogers also attempted to prove that the recognition of Cherokee Nation as a sovereign nation was illegal, and that Cherokee Nation had no jurisdiction of its own or rights to pass laws that conflicted with United States law. Rogers was ultimately found guilty of driving a motor vehicle while under the influence, resisting arrest, and carrying a loaded firearm on a Cherokee Nation land. She was fined $2,500 and was given a suspended 30-day sentence due to time served. Her case was one of DeCastro's most famous failures as a constitutional law scholar and not a lawyer, and set the stage for other failed campaigns.
Delete laws promotes teenaged auditor. YouTuber Jose Chili DeCastro had a rare guest for his Tuesday night livestream as the YouTuber known as First Amendment Protection Agency joined him for the nearly 2-hour livestream. The pair were promoting the channel of a First Amendment auditor known as First Amendment Advocate, who is a 15-year-old boy from Massachusetts who was recently detained by police while on an audit. In the footage uploaded by First Amendment Advocate and shared by DeCastro, the teenager attempts to audit the outside of a bank when staff at the bank call the police. The youngster followed all of the guidelines as presented by DeCastro and First Amendment Protection Agency. He remained calm when the police arrived, announced he was on a First Amendment audit, then tried to stay calm with the police explained he couldn't be standing in the middle of the road filming. DeCastro and First Amendment Protection Agency both disagreed with the police, claiming it was a universal law that where there is no sidewalk provided the road is considered a public easement and the child was within his rights to film from the easement. The video was abruptly cut off when the child announced that he was detained. He provided no updates as to if he was arrested or otherwise charged with a crime. The officer presumably detained him until his parents were called and picked him up from the scene, corresponding to what the police explained their policy was when dealing with minors. Again, the older auditors declared that the police were wrong and that the 15-year-old had the same rights as an adult. They encouraged him to get in touch with an attorney and to sue the police for the detainment as a federal civil rights case. First Amendment Protection Agency then pledged that he would go to the bank later this week to replicate the boy's audit. DeCastro offered him the use of his lawyer friend in the Massachusetts area and implied that he would soon be using that friend to make a new filing of his own. First Amendment Protection Agency and DeCastro directed DeCastro's 120 viewers to First Amendment Advocate's YouTube channel and managed to double the subscribers to the channel during his 2-hour broadcast. DeCastro announced that despite rumors he and his dog Charlie do not live in his studio. He then cut the livestream short as he said he needed to go get Charlie from the vet as Charlie is being treated for an inflamed pancreas and deathly ill.
Honor Your Oath arrested for panhandling. YouTuber Honor Your Oath Civil Rights Investigations was arrested in Daytona Beach Shores, Florida, on Sunday for soliciting without a permit when he asked a Daytona Beach Shores police officer for money on a public sidewalk. The YouTuber was protesting a Daytona Beach Shores city ordinance that prohibits soliciting without a permit or panhandling within the city limits. Honor Your Oath deemed the ordinance unconstitutional as he claims that panhandling is a protected act under the First Amendment. Honor Your Oath was accompanied by YouTuber James Madison Audits, who also filmed the interaction with the police from a safe distance away. The footage released by both YouTubers features the officers explaining to Honor Your Oath that he needed a permit to solicit money in public. The officers again explained the ordinance as Honor Your Oath asks both officers if he can have some money. When he affirmed that he would continue to solicit them for money despite the ordinance, he was arrested. According to Honor Your Oath's YouTube page, he was detained by police for 2.5 hours and then released for unknown reasons while he was being transported to the Volusia County Jail. James Madison Audits picked him up to give him a ride back to his wife. It is unclear, as of press time, if Honor Your Oath will be filing a First Amendment lawsuit based on his arrest. According to the Free Speech Center at Middle Tennessee State University, the 1980 case of Schomburg versus Citizens for a Better Environment established that panhandling is protected speech under the First Amendment. However, since that decision, the United States Supreme Court has allowed crackdowns on public begging. While an anti-panhandling ordinance in Daytona Beach, Florida, was found to be unconstitutional in July of 2024, the Daytona Beach Shores Ordinance remains in place. The ordinance reads, It shall be unlawful for any solicitor, agent, or peddler, as defined in this chapter, to solicit property or financial assistance of any kind, or directly to sell or offer to sell any article, tax, service, emblem, publication, ticket, advertisement, subscription, or anything of value on the streets, sidewalks, or other public property in the city, or in any private dwelling, apartment, or other place of residence, or in any motel, hotel, tourist accommodation, or timeshare, condominium, or on any commercial property, unless such person shall have first obtained a solicitor's permit from the city. Punishment for violation of the ordinance includes a fine of $500, up to 60 days in jail, or both.
Did DeCastro already give up on product rebranding? Fans of Jose Chili DeCastro were curious Tuesday night as he referred to his newly launched First Amendment Auditor channel, formerly his planned flagship of his auditing empire, as his new backup channel. DeCastro's comments came as he was interviewing fellow First Amendment auditor First Amendment Protection Agency on his live stream and were the first acknowledgement of trouble brewing with his planned pivot to teaching First Amendment auditing. It was announced by DeCastro in late September that his main channel was shadow banned by YouTube to the point where it was nearly worthless. Changes in both YouTube's algorithm and serious crackdowns on content featuring violence had essentially crippled his financial growth with the channel. For once, DeCastro was telling the truth. While all auditing channels suffered severe declines in August to early September based on YouTube's changes, only DeCastro's has continued to decline as he has refused to pivot to feature less extreme content. Currently, DeCastro has been flat on subscribers for his main channel for the past 30 days. He had briefly moved from 623,000 to 624,000 subscribers over the weekend, only to have 1,000 subscribers unsubscribe by Monday morning, returning him to 623,000 total subscribers. According to Social Blade, DeCastro's video views for the past 30 days continue to decline, down 45.3% to 3.181 million views, and his low-end revenue for the month is pegged at $795. That is the lowest we've seen their estimate go for a channel with such a huge subscriber base. While DeCastro's subscriber base has always been in question, critics note that attendance at his live events and video views never seem to improve as he adds hundreds of thousands of new subscribers. The declines seem to have come as DeCastro has all but abandoned his previous reliance on YouTube Shorts to bring video views. We also know that DeCastro apparently has had the bigger plan to unite First Amendment auditors by literally trademarking the term and licensing usage of it to others in the field. The rebrand to First Amendment Auditor and abandoning his primary channel seems to have been a large part of the plan. That said, DeCastro's first attempt at rebranding to escape the confines of YouTube's reach, his Patreon page, failed spectacularly last month. Drawing only 53 members with 4 of them currently paying, DeCastro was unable to convince his massive followers to make the jump to Patreon. Likewise, his announced First Amendment Auditor page has drawn 398 total subscribers in the week and a half it's been live on YouTube. DeCastro has already at least temporarily abandoned posting new videos on the channel and in fact, removed one of the few videos on the channel as he accidentally doxed his studio's new location in the video. At the same time he launched his Patreon page, he also launched his TeamDLZ.com website, which has all content under a paywall. As a privately owned website, sign-up figures are not available. Speculation has been that the site is tanking as DeCastro's ability to promote his product outside of his YouTube home seems to be holding him back. In fact, observers have noted that DeCastro's only real successes over the past year have come in his GoFundMe campaigns. The YouTuber managed to bring in a little over $50,000 in donations from his fans before suspending his multiple campaigns in September. With his new website apparently floundering, new channel not even to the point of monetization after a week and his Patreon literally withering away, DeCastro may turn to crowdsourcing to stay afloat until he can get back on his feet and find something that works. In a sneaky plug, our own ongoing expenses campaign took Monday with a $70 donation to our GoFundMe campaign. The market was flat for Tuesday with no noted donations for Election Day. As for DeCastro, all is not lost. With the apparent pending election of Donald Trump to the United States presidency, DeCastro has a glimmer of hope. He has long stated that a second Trump term would bring about massive crackdowns on First Amendment freedoms and the need for his army of auditors. If he is correct, there will be a growing need for his First Amendment auditing teachings if the practice manages to stay alive with the presumed Trump crackdowns on freedoms. It will be interesting to observe as he attempts to save the rebrand with the new developments. We still need your help. Despite the GoFundMe market being dead, this publication is funded by your donations along with what little we make from our YouTube channel per month. While we did achieve full monetization on YouTube, we still need help to get through monthly expenses and keeping the lights on to bring you the paper and the newscast each day. If you can afford it, please consider donating to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All donations literally go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the advertisements on our videos, like, share, subscribe and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in.
Benson wears swastikas as Anglo-Stancy press. Advocates for the homeless Reagan Benson and Elizabeth Aurora Transparency Canellis wore homemade sandwich board signs adorned with swastikas proclaiming that they were the Anglo-Stasi press as they entered the Englewood City Council chambers Monday night. The pair were accompanied by a number of homeless people from the Denver area and went live after setting up multiple cameras in the designated press area within the chambers. After a bit of trouble with the Wi-Fi connection, initially blamed by Benson as a conspiracy by the city council to limit the press from covering their activities, Benson set up her computer with her back to the council, showing her list of brown shirts, essentially a list of names of city council members and administrators, as displayed on the sign she was wearing on her back. Benson and company were the primary speakers during the public speaking portion of the event. The three homeless people from Denver made very serious statements with real concerns about homeless in the Denver and Englewood areas. Canellis and Benson? Not so much. Up first, Benson, still adorned in her swastika-covered sandwich boards, attacked the recent decision by city manager Sean Lewis to ban recording from the Englewood Civic Center and other Englewood properties. She promised coming federal civil rights lawsuits, briefly touched on homeless residents in the area, as she said that Englewood had no plans for a severe weather alert for later that night. Instead of spending her time addressing her topics, she again stood at the podium, wasting the rest of her time clapping for herself, with Canellis briefly joining in. Canellis stood at the podium, again adorned in sandwich boards covered in swastikas and messages targeting the city council, where she read the lyrics to the song War Pigs by Black Sabbath. Getting no reaction, she would then break into a white girl freestyle rap version of Fuck the Police by NWA before exiting the podium. As they were in the role of Anglo-Stasi press, Benson and company could not storm out of the meeting immediately following their remarks, as they normally do. Instead, the group stayed for the entire 4+ hour meeting, only ending the live stream after Mayor Othniel Sierra gavelled the meeting to a close. Other than Benson's multiple federal lawsuit threats, there were no major events at the other than Benson and Canellis outfits. No reaction was made to the outfits by the city council, and it is unclear what statement Benson was attempting by again using Nazi-related symbols to attack those she disagrees with. Benson is currently fighting a 120-day exclusion notice she received after disrupting the city council meetings on multiple occasions. Floyd Wallace overshares about sexual activities. Sunday night's live stream by YouTuber Floyd Wallace featured updates to his thoughts on going to jail, his travel plans, and his controversial belief that he can detect if a woman has a STD through the use of his earwax. Wallace started with his standard flip-flop on going to jail. When we last left off, he said he wanted to have his blind plea deal done immediately so he could go to jail early. Through this, he estimated he'd be out of jail for his birthday, which he could spend in Colombia. This time, The YouTuber claimed he was shown the body cam footage of his arrest by his lawyer and declared himself innocent of all the charges. He said that the police are charging him for obstruction, but there's no evidence that he did anything to obstruct from his own analyzation of what he saw. Flip-flopping, he went from demanding a jury trial instead of having the judge decide his sentencing at his November 12, 2024, hearing. Unless he gets a good deal from the judge, or the judge decides he's not going to find him guilty, or Wallace shared his thoughts on how if he was found guilty at a possible jury trial, he could immediately appeal and be free to go on another sex tour for another year while the appeal was heard. He also pondered trying for another continuance to the previously set in stone November hearing, so he could squeeze another sex tour to Colombia and while waiting for a new set of hearings to determine his new trial dates. When asked about his long-term future, Wallace indicated that he wanted to go into information technologies when he goes back to school and work customer service until then. The YouTuber asked for donations, this time for the fees to cover his probation costs. As of last check, he owed $280 with $40 of that listed as a delinquent payment. Wallace was distributing the link to the payment site for his fans to make direct payments to the fund, assuring them that they pay the fee for him. He'll be off probation in January. In typical Wallace fashion, he overshared stories of his sexual experiences, sharing a graphic story of performing oral sex on a Polish woman and sharing his earwax theory. The disproven theory, don't Google it, involves the placement of a man's earwax in a woman's genitals to determine if she has a sexually transmitted disease. Wallace said he'd be streaming again on a more regular basis now that he was sure he would be able to delay his time in jail. Delete Laws attacks enemies after bad news. A psychotic Delete Laws Jose Chili De Castro took to YouTube Wednesday night as he aggressively claimed he was prepared to violently defend himself against anyone who would threaten him after stating that he had a bad day. De Castro had been triggered earlier in the day in the YouTube comments area of the video of teenaged auditor First Amendment advocate that De Castro had featured on his own livestream Tuesday night. Another commenter confronted De Castro with the address of De Castro's studio, which brought about a violent response from De Castro. De Castro wrote, "This is the second screenshot I've got of your account, and I'm a new subscriber. I hope nobody gets hurt, because if anything at all happens to anybody in any way and people have to be dealt with IRL, it will be blamed on you. I hope it's you though. Oh, dang sorry. You're a keyboard warrior. You don't show up. LOL, you've had a YouTube account since 2007? Yeah, if people get hurt, they'll track you down. I hope nobody gets themselves no-mored. You was here, but no more. I can hear the conversation. You and Satan, at the gates of hell. What happened to you, loser troll? Loser troll? Who, me? Ah, shucks. I left the comfort of my keyboard, and Chili sent me to hell. Satan, is that all? Loser troll. No, it was captured on Chili surveillance cameras. My mama and everybody who ever knew me saw the video of head coming apart. Satan, okay, well, go ahead and bend over. Here comes the pitchfork up your... I'm not afraid of you. Break the law, and I'll get to see you in court, in cuffs, as you go to jail. Trust me, it's not fun. Anything happens, I have the screenshots. YouTube could never track you down, right? Wrong. Show up and see what happens. Boom. Your caboose explodes on surveillance cams. The two screenshots emerge, and it's ruled justified. De Castro was worse on his live stream, as he's pivoted to tearing apart old Donald Trump speeches as part of his focus on YouTube. De Castro warned that with the pending Trump presidency, police will have new powers and people will need to fight for their rights as Trump will surely bring new limits on the Constitution. Later, randomly stating that he'll use his firearms on anyone who would attack him, De Castro caught himself and revealed that his dog Charlie was still deathly ill with an enlarged pancreas. De Castro said that Charlie was on life support, and he vowed that he would not allow the dog to die. Breaking down, he said that 12 years old is too soon to die and that he couldn't take it if Charlie wasn't in his life. The YouTuber said he needed $10,000 immediately and that he would be putting up a GoFundMe to cover his costs. While the live stream took in $365 in donations towards Charlie's care, De Castro announced that he would be opening a new GoFundMe campaign, promising the campaign would be up after he made the greatest GoFundMe video ever, DeCastro said that his fans should be ready to donate as soon as he created the account. No new account was created last night. Our coverage of the market expanded with the addition of Rage Girl Radio's ongoing campaign, and our own ongoing expenses fund won the day with a $25 donation. We still need your help. Despite the GoFundMe market being dead, this publication is funded by your donations along with what little we make from our YouTube channel per month. While we did achieve full monetization on YouTube, we still need help to get through monthly expenses and keeping the lights on to bring you the paper and the newscast each day. If you can afford it, please consider donating to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All donations literally go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing news stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the advertisements on our videos, like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in. Masshole Kate Peter interviews Sean McDough. Despite claims by Grant Smith Ellis and Turtleboy Aiden Kearney that her arrest for parole violations was imminent, Kate Peter went live again on Wednesday with an interview with former DEA agent Sean McDough. McDough, known as a longtime supporter of the Free Karen Read movement, has been at odds with Kearney but still fully supportive of Karen Read. His presence on the show of Peter, who has been accused of being a mouthpiece for witnesses for the prosecution, caused shockwaves through the Free Karen Read movement. The discussion came on the day that Karen Read's attorney argued in front of the Supreme Judicial Court of Massachusetts that Read should be freed of 2 charges in her upcoming retrial for murder charges in the death of Boston Police Officer John O'Keefe. Read's attorney argued that in jury deliberations, the jury in Read's first trial voted to acquit Read 12-0 on 2 of the charges, yet did not tell the judge of their verdicts before a mistrial was declared. Judge Beverly Cannoni was given 3 notes from the jury foreman indicating that the jury was hopelessly locked, presumably on all of the charges. After 2 attempts at getting them to return to deliberation, a mistrial was declared in the case, with the Commonwealth opting to retry Read. The argument was made that despite the defense insisting on a mistrial at the time of first and second notes, they were not given a chance to argue to have the jury polled with the 3rd note. In their arguments, Judge Cannoni should have polled the jury to see if they were deadlocked on all of the charges and not just an overall deadlock. Read's attorney is seeking that the jury be brought back and to be asked if there was a 12-0 agreement, and if they all agree, Read would then be freed from both charges, including the charge of second-degree murder. In their discussion on Wednesday on her live stream, Peter pointed out that the foreman of the jury was docked supposedly in retaliation for being a holdout and finding Read innocent. Because he was a holdout, Peter inquired, how could a vote be 12-0? McDough replied that it was a good question that he had no answers for. McDough and Peter also discussed why Josh Levy's federal investigation into Read's case is said to have found her innocent of murder, and why she was then allowed to go to trial, with both sides agreeing that the presumption of innocence could not be given to Read because Levy declined to press charges. The Supreme Judicial Court of Massachusetts did not rule on Read's motion as of press time. Read's attorneys and attorneys for the Commonwealth have also filed a joint petition to have her retrial moved from the end of January 2025 to April 1, 2025. Jeremiah Payne YouTube gets fully demonetized. As first reported by Frauder Troll, Jeremiah Payne announced on his YouTube community tab that he has been fully demonetized by YouTube and will remain demonetized until sometime next year when he is eligible to appeal again. Payne wrote, "Guys, I need your help. My YouTube channel has been demonetized. I have filed an appeal with YouTube. I would love some help. I appreciate anything you can do. If any of you can help me out for the work I do here on this channel, I and my family would greatly appreciate any help you can give. My AdSense check was half my rent this month, and my rent has to be paid by the 15th. I have half of it, but need help now with other half. The landlord knows I normally don't get my AdSense until the 21st and waits to get the other half. But now that they demonetized, I won't have it, and I don't get paid again until we get halfway through this new job we just started. Here is a screenshot to prove I'm not lying. So guys, please, if you like the work I do here and can help out, that would be great. My PayPal is... I do not have access to my Cash App anymore, so please do not send anything to Cash App. Thanks ahead of time." By the way, I was demonetized for uploading my own music, which was recorded by me, written by me, and was done in my studio. YouTube is bullshitting. I hate YouTube. Followed by, well, guys, they turned down my appeal and said I can try again February 2nd, 2025. WTF, YouTube can kiss my ass. I need your help, guys. Please help if you can. Then finally, damn theses trolls are freaking idiots. No wonder the lick boots, because they only have one brain cell. My rent is $1,500 a month. I said I had half of it, and that my AdSense payment was going to pay the other half. Well, where the hell do you think I have half of it already from if I wasn't working? How could I be living in a house now paying $1,500 a month if I wasn't working? Let me tell you, they have no brains at all. To move anywhere nowadays, it takes over $2,000. I guess I just got to move in free. They don't stop and think. And then their followers are just as dumb. They jump on the wagon without a second thought. Or even a thought. They just believe everything their cult leader says. Grow the frick up and stop worrying about my life and worry about yourself. You all have people who donate to your channels and become members, so SDF you, and stop being jealous, because I have people who donate and buys merch. If you want to support what I do, you can by visiting my merch store or donating to my PayPal. Thanks, and trolls fuck off. While Payne claimed that it was his music that got him demonetized, Frauditor Troll revealed that it may have been Payne's re-editing of a recent Arkansas police activity video that may have brought the punishment. Payne took the channel's recent body cam footage of James Freeman, changed the aspect ratio, and plastered his own logo on the video, then did a live premiere of the footage earlier this week without new commentary. During the live event, Payne assured everyone that it was new footage and that Freeman had just been arrested in Arkansas, despite the original footage making it clear that the arrest happened in mid-October. Payne was echoing the false reporting of Jose Chili de Castro, who reported the same facts on his Sunday afternoon live stream. Reagan Benson claims cult activity in Englewood. Activist for the homeless, Reagan Benson's live stream from Denver's District 3 Community Advisory Board meeting quickly devolved into Benson's paranoid accusations against members of Denver's police force and an Englewood, Colorado, city council member. Benson sat quietly for almost an hour streaming the Community Advisory Board meeting. Once it finished, Benson approached Officer Kira Jenkins, who did an internal investigation into Benson's sworn enemy, Sergeant Brian O'Neill of Denver's District 3, after Benson filed a report accusing O'Neill of abuse. Jenkins replied to Benson that she was assigned to investigate O'Neill as part of her duties, even though they were co-workers, and then she passed her finding on to Internal Affairs. Internal Affairs and the Citizens Review Board then both cleared O'Neill of any wrongdoing. After walking away from Jenkins, Benson ranted to her viewers that it was part of Denver's corrupt system that police investigate police, and there's no accountability for wrongdoing by police officers. Moving to the lobby, Benson briefly talked to another homeless advocate about the worsening snowy weather conditions outside and how Denver shelters were completely full for the night. Benson agreed to check on one of the shelters and continued her stream of consciousness talk to her viewers as she drove. Benson warned that the Denver Police Department was watching her live stream, and she expected them to come kill her should she say or do anything out of line while driving. Eventually reaching her destination, Benson launched into an extended rant about Englewood City Council member Joe Anderson. Anderson, a pastor by trade, has rented space in the Englewood Civic Center in order to provide church services for his church, which doesn't have its own building. The rental is done through an independent arts organization that Englewood has given rights to a specific hall to manage how they wish, with a portion of their proceeds going back to Englewood. Benson claimed that the agreement was a way for the government to circumvent the separation between church and state. Going further, Benson accused Anderson of being a cult leader who had planned to purge Englewood's government of non-religious people and fill their slots with loyalists from his church. The YouTuber judged herself more committed to her creator than Anderson was committed to his religion, and pledged that she would continue to let those in Englewood believe that she was stupid in order to achieve victory over them. Benson announced that the Englewood initiative that she had backed, despite not being a resident of Englewood, had passed. The initiative requires the position of mayor of Englewood be elected by the people of Englewood rather than being picked by the city council. The YouTuber ended her live stream with an announcement that she'll soon be seeking time with Englewood's new police chief after he starts his job in the coming weeks. The angry vet claims injuries from police attack in South Carolina. Viewers were surprised Thursday night as YouTuber The Angry Vet went live briefly to explain that he was just physically attacked by police, who let him go with a warning, and he was on his way to the hospital after apparently suffering a head injury. The Angry Vet claimed that he was in Rock Hill, South Carolina, promoting his veterans' nonprofit organization when he was approached by police who accused him of soliciting. He said that he walked briskly, then jogged away from the officers, who promptly tackled him, and he apparently hit his head. The 3 to 4 police officers took him to their lieutenant, and he explained he was in the area promoting his veterans organization on Veterans Day weekend. The lieutenant, being a fellow veteran, agreed to let him go with a verbal warning, and the angry vet was allowed to leave the police station. Staggering back to his car as the live stream began, the angry vet appeared disoriented and was visibly limping, short of breath. He eventually made it to his car, where he fumbled for some water. Telling his fans that his head hurt, he also said he didn't want to go to a hospital in the area. He had no visible signs of being hit in the face or head, but did have a familiar dazed look on his face and seemed to have trouble thinking. The angry vet's YouTube feed cut out as he was attempting to drive, and there were no more updates on his channel for the night. There have been no further updates as of Friday morning. His fans promptly began contacting the Rock Hill, South Carolina, police station to complain about his alleged assault by the police officers. Both Fraudit Wrangler and Frauditor Troll released videos on the incident, but neither had new information on his condition, nor is there anything available as of press time. We will continue to monitor the Angry Vet's channel for further updates. Denver Metro Audits holds jail Q&A live stream. YouTuber Christopher Denver Metro Audits Cordova held a live stream Thursday night where he answered fans' questions about his recent time in jail and his plans for the future now that he will at least temporarily accept probation. Cordova had been sentenced to 15 days in federal prison after being found guilty of multiple counts from an incident at a Social Security facility in 2022. After a lengthy appeal of his sentencing, Cordova was ordered to prison last month to serve his sentence. As the federal prison system will not house someone for such a short amount of time, he was housed in a Denver area local jail for his 2-week sentencing in a maximum security area of the jail. Cordova announced that he will be bringing his attorney with him to his first probation meeting on Friday and will be contesting the terms of probation that require him to get a job. He claimed that his job as independent contractor was a real job and that even though he was ordered not to audit, he could still audit as it was part of his job. He also announced that he was challenging his probation to the 10th Circuit Appeals Court, but will cooperate with probation until then. If he loses the appeal, he'll simply violate his probation to self-revoke the probation, and that, he says, will end the probation. Threatening a lawsuit, Cordova complained loudly that he was held for 32 more hours than expected, as his 15 days of lockup became 16 days and 8 hours for unknown reasons. He intended to ask for a huge settlement based on the snafu, and that someone would have to be held responsible for the delay in his release. Also on his list was prison reform. Cordova announced that he would be leading the charge for prison reform in Colorado as he was only allowed 1 pair of underwear and 1 pair of socks per week. He also rallied against how cold it was in jail, stating that his nipples were hard for the entire 2-week stay. The YouTuber also announced that he will be paying for all the footage from the jail that he's included in. He took notes and timestamps of whenever he was in a room with a camera, including his time on the phone, and will be submitting massive amounts of FOIA requests for the footage. Intending to produce a documentary with the footage, Cordova explained that while the financial burden will be great, he can write off all the footage as a tax write-off and game the system by profiting off his time in jail. According to Cordova, the documentary will be 90 minutes to 2 hours long, and he'll be making it professional with music and editing above anything he's done before. Moving on to general questions, he said that the jail was messing with people when he was booked, and that he's really 5 feet 7 inches and 145 pounds and not 5 feet 7 inches and 135 pounds. Cordova claimed the heaviest heat ever was when he was 185 pounds. He said that he hated being heavier than the 145-pound range because he likes speed and mobility when he's playing sports. Cordova admitted that he had severe anxiety as a child, a result of his abusive biological father, who he says physically and mentally abused his mother and himself. He admitted that he had attached mother syndrome because of the trauma they shared together and needed to take social anxiety medication to make friends in his late teenage years. The YouTuber eventually painted his time in jail as a positive, despite breaking a tooth that recently had a root canal while serving his time. He claimed that due to Christopher Direct D. Ruff's efforts, calling the jail as his non-existent boyfriend, he eventually received most of his medications. He highlighted jail as the ultimate detox, as he was alcohol-free and caffeine-free for the first time in some time and intended to stay that way. He also highlighted his time in jail as he and a partner dominated card games, winning almost every game of spades that they played. Cordova said he spent most of his time watching movies on the tablets provided by the jail system and eating commissary food. He said that he lost weight at first, but put the weight back on as soon as he had commissary services. The YouTuber stated that he wasn't remorseful for his crimes, and that it was stupid that he was punished for taking photos in a prohibited area. He reasserted that he would find a way off of probation before ending the live.
Delete Law's bizarre behavior concerns fans. A depressed Jose Chili de Castro appeared disheveled Friday night while wearing a paint-splattered hoodie and simultaneously stating that his dog Charlie was dying and was never going to die, concerning his fans. De Castro teased the update about his dog's health status throughout the 3-plus-hour live stream, repeating that Charlie was about to die and then catching himself and stating that Charlie would not die. He repeated the phrasing so often that his fans began to express concern for both Charlie and his owner. The YouTuber said that he spent another day crying over Charlie, who is suffering from pancreatitis, and was not clear about the dog's actual health status. At one point holding Charlie up to show how his front legs had been shaved to accommodate twin IVs. Charlie himself appeared lethargic as De Castro held him up to the camera. Again stating both that Charlie was going to die and then that he'd never die, De Castro eventually ended the livestream to take Charlie outside for a walk. De Castro himself appeared distressed throughout the video, appearing disheveled and pasty and showing his age. He tried to work up his energy to rant through 3 hours worth of anti-police videos, but only showed true signs of any passion when he made misogynistic comments about female police officers. No mention was made of the $10,000 he had previously announced that he needed to come up with in 2 days, or the world's greatest GoFundMe video that he had promised fans before he could launch a GoFundMe specifically devoted to Charlie's care. As of press time, he had yet to launch the GoFundMe campaign. De Castro again mentioned that he was going to be focusing on Twitter as a platform to show his videos and fight YouTube's censorship. He instructed his fans who were on his Patreon to abandon that platform and to become a paid member on his TeamDLZ.com website. Strangely, De Castro made no mention of his rebranding or his First Amendment Auditor channel. The channel, currently with 408 subscribers, features 2 long-form videos and 3 shorts and was going to be the new home of De Castro after he planned to abandon his main Delete Laws channel. The channel was also not included in his simulcast of the livestream, which was also running on his DLZ Clips and his American Patriot Forever YouTube channels. Also, as a surprise to fans, he brought back his 2-for-1 promotion on his Trifold products for Friday night only. He had been previously warned by his business partner that the promotions made little sense since he was losing money doing the promotions. De Castro is expected to go live again later on Saturday. He made $226 in super chats during Friday night's broadcast.
First Amendment Protection Agency upset by police dispatch humiliation on livestream. The man who Jose Chili de Castro described as the greatest First Amendment auditor in the world, First Amendment Protection Agency FAPA, was triggered as went live on Friday when he made an in-person complaint about Holden, Massachusetts police officers. FAPA said he had an incident with Holden police officers the day before when he was recreating another incident involving 15-year-old auditor, First Amendment advocate. The boy auditor caught FAPA and De Castro's attention after being detained outside a bank in Holden, Massachusetts, for standing in a roadway. The adult YouTuber encountered police in his recreation of the video, who were also called by the bank to investigate his suspicious activity. Fapa had been triggered in his encounter because of the unprofessional behavior the officers showed towards him. In particular, he was upset at one of the officers for throwing his identification on his lap when returning it instead of waiting for him to put down one of his cameras to accept the identification. Fapa explained that he was live streaming the filing of the report because he was afraid of retaliation from Holden police and his thousands of viewers would have his back. The stream topped out at 290 viewers at peak. The YouTuber entered the building and immediately went to a window marked dispatch and asked for a police officer to take his report. The dispatcher told him she'd call someone, then shut the metal blind on her window upon seeing that he was recording. A man and a woman came in for a scheduled report to police, who briefly argued with Fapa over his need to film them. Fapa smugly explaining that they were in public, and he had every right to film. The pair were quickly escorted inside a meeting room by a police officer before the argument with Fapa would continue. Fapa, who one commentator described as a cross between Logan Paul and Cyrax, was approached by Officer Consiglio of the Holden Police Force. The officer watched portions of Fapa's edited video of the incident before leaving to get Fapa a complaint form. When the officer returned, he upset Fapa by stating that he did not see enough in the video to put the events of the previous day in context. He added that he'd need to talk to the officers involved in the incident to get their side of the story before making up his mind. Fapa returned to his car, which was parked at a local restaurant, and spent 20-plus minutes filling out the complaint form and proclaiming himself the perfect auditor, with no regrets about anything he's ever done. He also challenged how much money members of his chat made as they couldn't compare to him. Finally, he stated that he was the nicest person outside of auditing, and everyone who met him agreed on that. Returning to the building, the nicest person became triggered when he approached the dispatch window, and the woman working the window refused to give him her full name, stating that she was not required to do that. Triggered, Fapa angrily threatened that he was going to do a FOIA request for her name and her salary and whatever else about her that his chat could come up with. Officer Consiglio returned to get Fapa's complaint and explained that the dispatchers were not part of the police force and affirmed the fact that their policy does not require them to identify themselves to the public. Fapa heard someone say the name, Isabella, and mockingly began to refer to the dispatcher by that name before deciding to end his livestream. It is unclear if Fapa carried out his threat to FOIA request the dispatcher's name and other information. Fapa also confirmed during the livestream that he had sent multiple emails to the teenage First Amendment advocate and offered a joint auditing session. First Amendment advocate had not responded to him as of press time. Floyd Wallace announces New Mexico warrant. Viewers of Floyd Wallace's Friday livestream had familiar news, as the YouTuber started his show with good news and bad news for his viewers, with the bad news being something he had apparently announced back in October. Wallace started with the good news that his probation should be over in January, if only he can raise the $180 that he needed to pay off his probation fees. A quick check of the provided link by Wallace showed that he had an overall debt of $230, with the previous $40 that had been marked delinquent now gone from the account. The YouTuber would devote the remainder of the broadcast to taking in Cash App donations to this goal, though his fans didn't quite get the hint of the immediate need for money. As usual, he charged his fans to answer questions, and instead of using his Cash App, which would pay him immediately, the majority of those asking questions asked through YouTube Super Chats, which won't hit his account until late December. Because of this real or imagined disregarding of his need for an immediate payout, by the end of the show Wallace had raised $2 in actual donations to go towards his immediate need for money. Turning to his bad news, Wallace informed his fans that he had just heard from his probation officer, who informed him that he had a new warrant out of New Mexico on unknown charges. Wallace explained that this was a pocket warrant for his arrest in the state, and he thought that it was somehow related to his auditing activities. There was some confusion, as Wallace had previously started a live stream with the same news, that his probation officer informed him of a new warrant out of New Mexico back on October 2nd, 2024. It's unclear if this was a new warrant or if it was the same warrant, and Wallace had just forgotten that he had used the previous story to fundraise in the past. In either case, Wallace implored his fans to give towards his goal so the warrant or warrants would not interfere with his current probation. Wallace again addressed his upcoming November 12th hearing in Oklahoma. Repeating what he said on past live streams, Wallace asserted that he'd only accept a blind plea deal from the judge if it was beneficial to him. He claimed that he could reject the deal, and then his new trial date would be in March of next year. Instead of sharing his previous plans of going on another sex tour while waiting for that trial, Wallace said that he now is not leaving the country until he gets all his legal matters settled. He claimed he was down to his probation out of Texas, his pending trial in Oklahoma, and the new warrant out of New Mexico to clear up before he would be free of the legal system. Wallace engaged in several ideas to earn money during his live stream, including wearing a MAGA hat and t-shirt and cleaning what appeared to be black mold off the wall behind him. He turned down both offers from his fans as he did not own MAGA clothing, and he was afraid that the bleach he owned would have stained the wall and cost him his security deposit. The YouTuber is set to lose his apartment at the end of the year when his lease expires. His current landlord has declined to renew the lease. Wallace has yet to find a new apartment. The angry vet update misses opportunity to fundraise. At the start of Veterans Day weekend, and after allegedly being arrested for soliciting for promoting his veterans' nonprofit organization, YouTuber The Angry Vet took his mass exposure and opportunity for growth to brigade the police instead of promoting his GoFundMe related to his fundraising efforts. The Angry Vet wrote on his YouTube community page. Important links are listed below. If you know of any more, please post them in the pinned comment below. On November 7, 2024, I was on my way home from a SCARS501.org relief mission when I stopped in a little town named Rock Hill, South Carolina. While I was there, I decided to stop at the City Hall and advocate for homeless veterans for this upcoming Veterans Day weekend. I was also planning to attend the city's celebration for veterans. While doing so, I had at least half a dozen marked and unmarked police vehicles drive by. All but one refused to acknowledge me, even after having made eye contact with me. Then I decided to change locations and found a spot on the main drag in front of a Jimmy John's where I met a homeless man that was being harassed by the police, so I paid it forward and gave him a few dollars. Shortly after that, my battery died. So I changed batteries and headed down to the police station to do the same thing, which conveniently was during some kind of shift change. Police officers were coming and going non-stop, both in marked units and in personal vehicles, 8 or more in total, with only 2 of them even waving, acknowledging my presence by waving to me, so I decided to leave and head over to the library. Well, I never made it there because as I reached the opposite side of the crosswalk, approximately 4 police officers started running me down and eventually talked me, immediately cuffed me, and told me I was under arrest. As I protested this, they said I wasn't listening to their orders. When they finally told me what I was being arrested for, they said it was for soliciting, and they turned my camera off, and that they received reports that a homeless man was begging for money. When they found out that I was a veteran and that I wasn't homeless, they uncuffed me and forced me to identify myself under duress and threat of arrest. After what I had just experienced, I believed every threat these tyrants made, and I complied with their unlawful commands. And that's when they gave me back my camera and hat back, but tried to keep my sign cause it was borderline soliciting. So I started recording again, and they all got attitudes with me and decided to double down on their ignorance by laughing at me, as if unlawfully arresting me and assaulting me wasn't enough. They have turned off Google reviews, but I have added a Facebook link in case you want to voice your opinion in this matter. Perhaps out of rage, perhaps out of lack of experience in dealing with great amounts of attention, instead of promoting his fundraising efforts, which would have benefited from all the eyes on his case. As Angry Vet did not give out the link to his GoFundMe, in order to put the focus on his cause on the very weekend designed for people to remember veterans from around the world, he literally blew his best opportunity to fundraise for the cause he claims he's devoted his life to. A simple link to GoFundMe or his PayPal, Cash App, or other cash intake application would have been seen by thousands more people than normal, and may have turned a horrible incident into an opportunity to make money for veterans relief. Instead, he blew the opportunity to promote his cause and instead sought out personal vengeance on the police. With his reputation being what it is, with even Annapolis Audit/Taco Terry quitting then denouncing his organization, and his alleged beating by police not drawing the attention of expert GoFundMe promoter Jose Chili de Castro, the lost opportunity may haunt his organization moving forward. The market itself was flat for a second day on Friday, with no new donations across the board. Neither the Angry Vet's high-profile exposure nor Christopher Denver Metro Audit's court of his release from prison were enough to jump-start the market. Jose Chili DeCastro's promised return and immediate need for $10,000 also did not materialize by the end of the week, leaving few high-profile causes to support for the entire market. We still need your help. Despite the GoFundMe market being dead, this publication is funded by your donations along with what little we make from our YouTube channel per month. While we did achieve full monetization on YouTube, we still need help to get through monthly expenses and keeping the lights on to bring you the paper and the newscast each day. If you can afford it, please consider donating to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All donations literally go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing news stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the advertisements on our videos, like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in.